Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Transformational Mentoring with Alejandro Tornato, midweek edition. And it's great to be with you, connecting with you, sharing a few moments with you. Alejandro Tornato here, coming directly from Beaufort, Georgia. And please, if you're watching this or you pick up this live, in the comments below, tell me where you're watching from. Okay, I love to see where my audience is watching from and connecting from. So before before I start with what I want to share with you today, let me just ask you a question. How are you doing? How are you coping with the current situation that the world is facing right now, and especially here in the U.S.? You know, I have to be honest with you. This is the very first time ever in my entire life, as far as I remember, that I am experiencing something of the magnitude that we are experiencing it right now. I don't know about you. Perhaps this is not your first time, but it's certainly my first time, and so that's why I want to ask you that question. How are you doing right now? How are you feeling right now? How are you coping right now? Are you still optimistic about the fact that this is just a temporary disruption of your normal life? Because I think that right now we are not really living life in a normal way, because there are conditions that have been placed upon us that are temporarily forcing us to do different things. For instance, I have been for a few days now engaged in this new norm of social distancing. And but I hope that you too, because if we want to be reasonable, then if we want to exercise common sense, then it's great to follow the guidelines of what the government and some of the organizations, such as the National Health and the CDC and all the doctors and all the professionals who definitely know much more, and they have much more experience, wide experience in these kinds of pandemics and situations. And it's great to follow their guidelines, and I believe that it certainly makes sense that if we engage and implement in our lives social distancing, then we are diminishing and reducing the potential for the spread of this COVID-19, this coronavirus. And the more that we can mitigate, and the more that we can reduce the potential spread on contamination of the virus, then I believe the sooner that we are going to get much more control over the situation, and the situation eventually is going to leave. We are eventually coming to the end of this global pandemic. So just give me some feedback, and tell me how are you coping. I mean, whether social distancing for you, it's hard, it's difficult. I truly believe that for some people, social distancing, it really doesn't make any big difference, because there are people who really are not connectors. I mean, they don't like to interact with other people. They just want to live their lives mostly in isolation. I mean, just not, they're not people kind of persons, and so they love to do things by themselves, and then people let people go that way. I'll be going the other direction. And so for those kinds of individuals, then social distancing, and doing things virtually, it doesn't come as a surprise. And as a matter of fact, I mean, they probably welcome with open arms the possibility of doing it, because now everybody is doing it. Now, I don't know about you, but definitely for me, it's been a little bit challenging, because I am a kind of a social person. I love to connect with people. I love to engage people in conversations. I love to meet people in person. I love to have that person to person connection. And so this I mean it's okay for a while, but then for me and for many others, it is going to be a little bit of a challenge to do it, just because of our personalities and our characters. And so, since I don't know how long this situation is going to stay with us, and most likely you don't know how long we are going to endure this, but we'll have to make the best out of this situation. I mean, be adaptable, be flexible, and that is, have the best attitude that you can have, because this is not going to be with us forever. It will end at a time. Don't know the time, but it will. If there's one thing that I know, is that it will eventually come to an end. But so let's just let's make the most of it. I have been utilizing the time, even though sometimes, I mean, I've been perhaps, I mean, catching up, I mean, with some old series on Amazon Prime that I liked, and perhaps, I mean, in the evenings watching a movie, and so forth. But I wanted to really catch up with reading, with writing, with creating content. I mean, for new podcast episodes. I mean, for the Alejandro Tornato Show podcast. And just by the way, I'll invite you right now. Just go to iTunes and search for the Alejandro Tornato Show podcast, and there are going to be, I don't know right now, I mean, how many episodes, I mean, since I started, but there are quite a few, And just recently, I posted even more. I think that what I need to do is I need to put periodically, I mean frequently, on a link on my Facebook pages, links to the some of the podcast episodes, and so you can click on those, and or you can go to iTunes and you can subscribe to the show, and so you can just go and listen to don't listen um, uh, when you're doing something that requires your full attention. But yeah, I mean, if you're driving, I mean, if you don't have anything else, or you can just put on a pair of earphones and listen. I mean, there are some good and valuable content that I created. I mean, I because it's all done with the purpose of adding value to you, adding value to as many people as I possibly can. And one of the vehicles is doing it through podcasting. I also have a blog, and you can go to there, I mean, to the website at alejandrojtornato.com, and go to the page where the blogs are. I just put some new blogs recently. I love to read. I love to write, and whenever I learn new things and I come with things that impact me and my life, then the very first thing that I do is I want to share that with others. And podcasting is it's a vehicle to do that. Blogging is a vehicle to do that. Social media, what I'm doing right now, it's another powerful medium to do that. And so, what I wanted to share with you today is I have been reading a book called The Prophet by author Khalil Gibran. And what a great book that is. And on the chapter on giving, there's something very powerful that I wanted to share with you. And so the prophet is sharing in the midst of an assembly of people, and he shares some thoughts on giving. And he said, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give." Now, let me repeat that one more time. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. Now, what do you think about that statement, that comment? I think that it not only caught my eye, but it caught my attention, and it grabbed my attention, because I said, wow. So someone, I mean, who is very wealthy and has lots and lots of possessions, when that person has the need, or there is a need to help another, or to give to another, and you said, okay, well, I'm going to give this person X amount of dollars, or I'm going to give this person some of my material possessions. You see, this says you're given very little when what you are giving is out of the abundance of your possessions. And why is that the case? And I think that upon reflection and upon thinking about it, I think that when people give out of their possessions, they are transferring that giving to the possession itself. So they don't have to do anything. It doesn't require themselves to do anything. I mean, the only thing that they have to do is perhaps write a check or do a transfer or just let someone, take of whatever, they possess. But it doesn't require them to do anything of significance. Giving out of your possessions, I believe, and what the book tries to convey is that they are not requiring the owner of the possessions to do anything or to engage in anything that may be construed as significance. Now, I am not saying, and please do not misunderstand me, that if you are wealthy, if you have possessions and material possessions and there is a need and you give some money because just to fulfill and to satisfy a need, whatever the need may be, that is the wrong thing to do. No, I'm not saying that is the wrong thing to do. And I don't think that the book is saying that is the wrong thing to do. But when you compare the giving out of your possessions, okay, to when it says it is when you give of yourself that you truly give. You see, possessions are something that they are external of who you are. You obtain those possessions, through work, through investing, through different kinds of activities. But it is when you give of yourself, because what happens, what happens when you give of yourself? What are the things that you give of yourself? Well, the very first thing that you give of yourself is you give your time. And when you compare time versus possessions or money, then money can always be recovered. If you lose money, you can recover it. You can make more money. But when it comes to time, when you give of yourself time, and you give time to fulfill a need, an external need, then the time that you spend cannot be recuperated, cannot be recovered. You cannot make more time for yourself. Whatever that time is gone forever. So there is, in a sense, there is a sacrifice that you have to make. Because you're given of your time, you're given something of yourself that you would never be able to recover no matter what you do. That is gone forever. The second thing that you can give of yourself is you can give of your emotional storehouse. You see, you can you can come alongside another person, and you can strengthen that person by giving them of your emotional stamina, in a sense, by sharing with them your emotions. And that is not that I mean, that can certainly sometimes drain you, because you are given of your emotional. Is like a car. I mean, you have a tank of gasoline, and if you have to make a detour, I mean, to help someone, then your tank, your gasoline, is going to be depleted a bit. Now, you can recharge it, and you can recharge your emotional storehouse, but giving of your emotions is something that requires effort on your part. It can take, it can take a toll on you, but if you're prepared to give of yourself, that's another way that you give out of yourself, not only time, but you give out of your emotional uh, abundance, in a sense. And you can give out of yourself. You can give your intellectual know-how. I mean, you can help someone, perhaps in an area that they need to grow. I mean, you can help them. You can encourage them. You can teach them. You can mentor them. You can coach them. And you can do perhaps that at no cost, because you know that the people that you are helping, that you are adding value to, they may not have the resources, I mean, to give you back. So you decide to give that know-how, that that ability to teach and to bring information to them at no cost to them. So that's another way that you can give. So that's, I believe, is why the book states very clearly, and it says, you give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly engaged in the act of giving. And I think that giving without expecting anything in return, that's the true, I believe, essence of giving. I mean, we should be always giving because we want to get. No, it's just giving because it says that it is better to give than to receive. Blessed is the man who gives as opposed to the one who receives. Now, it's not bad to receive. I mean, of course, I mean, we have to know how to receive things in the proper way. But it is better. I mean, if it's up to you, if you see a need, to just go ahead and give of yourself, whatever it is required to give, because the universe is going to repay and give back in more abundantly than you would ever think that could happen. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I thought that impacted me, and then I wanted to share that with you. I hope that it will impact your life. I hope that it will encourage you to see the difference between giving out of the abundance of possessions as opposed to giving of yourself. And why giving of yourself is more beneficial. So thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be with you and to spend a few moments with you. Truly, as I close, I want to remind you, and I want to encourage you to. I know that the situation that we're going through right now is not sometimes very comfortable, is not easy, but just stay with it. Use this time to grow. Use this time to get better, to engage in things and activities. Even if you're doing it just implementing social distancing, but do things that are going to take you to in the direction of the goals and the dreams that you want to achieve and accomplish this year. Don't let this temporary situation, temporary disruption of normalcy and normal life really take you off the road. But keep your eyes on the road. Keep your eyes on what you want to achieve, and use this time to your profit. Make it every day. Make it a profitable day, no matter what you do, and just keep living, keep enjoying life. Don't lose the enjoyment of life. Life is beautiful no matter what the circumstances. And so just keep living life to the fullest of your potential and of your personal greatness. Because remember, my friend, there is greatness within each of us. And let's show up in the world every day with that thought in our mind. Never lose sight of the fact that you are a great and fully resourced individual, and you are possible. There is nothing that is impossible in our life if we put our minds to it, we can do anything that we desire to accomplish. So as I always remind you, live every moment, be resilient, and also be kind, be passionate, be well.